Alrighty, welcome everybody to this episode of Move Forward with Cameron County. And tonight we have a very special guest. He is Eddie Trevino, our Cameron County judge. Eddie, welcome to our show.
Good evening. Good evening, Daniel. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Doing
Am I
pretty.
frozen?
Give me a second. Let me do a refresh here.
I should have taken a better picture.
Let's see here. Let me move you over to. Hold on one second.
We were good a minute ago.
I know. That's kind of weird. All right, let me do this. Let me restart. Are you there? Can you see me
Yeah.
now? All right.
There you
Sorry
go.
about that.
Seems like there's still a little delay. I don't know if you can hear me well.
I can hear you. We're good.
Okay.
All
All right.
righty. All righty. So, everybody, tonight we have Cameron County Judge Eddie Trevino in the house. We've been trying to kind of solidify our dates together, and we finally got an opportunity to sit down with him. On tonight's show, we're going to be talking about the arena and looking at the proposal that is set for May 7th. There's early voting this week, so it's an opportunity for everybody to go and vote for this proposition. So, with that in mind, I'll give an opportunity for Mr. Trevino. Mr. Trevino, most of us know you. You were our previous mayor in Brownsville, and you've served in your capacity for county judge. And I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk to the viewers out there that may not know you. Just basically who you are, where you're from, where you grew up, and what you've done for the last several years in several capacities, just for those viewers that don't know.
Okay. First of all, thank you for having me and putting this together and giving me the opportunity to speak to you, Daniel, and your viewers. I was born and raised here in Brownsville. My parents were in the furniture business and restaurant business for most of my adult life, all of my life. I was fortunate enough to get a Catholic education. I went to elementary school at St. Mary's and St. Joe for high school. I went to St. Mary's University in San Antonio undergrad, and then I was fortunate enough to go to the University of Texas School of Law. I don't know if you can see the burnt orange wall behind me, but I know there's probably a lot of Aggies out there, and they're good friends. But I'm a Longhorn, and I'm proud of it. I realized when I was in law school, because my game plan had been to go to San Antonio and live up there. I love San Antonio; it's a great city. But when I was in law school and I worked during the summers, I happened to work in law firms here in Brownsville. I realized that if all the kids from Brownsville or the Cameron County or the Valley that were fortunate enough to go and get an education and even better, a postgraduate degree, if they kept staying away and not coming back, I realized that brain drain was hurting and would continue to hurt Brownsville in particular and the Valley as a whole. So I kind of had an epiphany, if you will. And I thought maybe I can come back home and make a bigger difference than if I was to stay in San Antonio. So that was my driving force to come back home. I graduated many, many moons ago before the internet. I've been practicing law now for 33 years, but I've been very blessed that my decision to come home, I think, gave me an opportunity to serve my community in many different roles. I've been on numerous civic and charitable organizations, nonprofits, and served as city commissioner, served as mayor, as you mentioned. And now I've been able to serve and blessed to serve as county judge for the last almost 6 years, 5 years.
Alrighty. Well, one of the things that I know has gotten quite a bit of attention the last few weeks, and obviously prior to that, the last few months, has been the arena. There's a lot of, questions with regards to the arena and, with respects to where it's going to be built and how it's going to be funded. But I'd like for you to start off just kind of giving us a breakdown of what the arena is with regards to that. And then we're going to switch over to another screen where we'll show some illustrations with respects to the arena, because I believe it's broken into a couple of projects. It's just not the arena itself, but there's some development also that's going to be right next to it. And if you could give us a little bit of some information with regards to that.
Well, so what's on the ballot for Cameron County voters, among other things, because there are some contested races in a couple of our cities, but overall, Proposition A. There's also two state constitutional amendments dealing with our property taxes, which I would recommend that people look up and read into. But those are positive with regards to helping reduce our property tax exemptions, or raising them, and therefore lowering our property taxes. But basically, the venue tax, also called a visitor tax, is a hotel, motel, and occupancy tax that we charge as a county to visitors. Now, all communities, most communities throughout the state, throughout the country, have some form of this visitor tax. And here in Texas, they utilize that visitor tax for local economic development or tourism-related projects. Back in 2016, in November, the Cameron County voters, first of all, approved the venue tax, and they approved two projects: the Isla Blanca Amphitheater and the South Texas Ecotourism Center in Laguna Vista. The law says that in order for a governmental entity, city or county, to use this venue tax on a particular project, the voters of that area have to approve and authorize the use of the venue tax for this particular project. So we got the Isla Blanca Amphitheater built and operational, and it was looking very good. Unfortunately, something called the pandemic hit as we were just getting started, and obviously that had an impact for a number of different reasons. About a year and a half ago, Commissioner Garza, our Precinct 3 Commissioner out of San Benito, David Garza, wanted us to go ahead and start moving forward on the amphitheater. I'm sorry, with the Ecotourism Center in Laguna Vista. I was a little concerned moving forward since we were still in the middle of the pandemic, but the Commissioners Court had some lively discussions about it, and we thought that we might as well get moving on it, so that way that we could have that one on the books and operational. Again, bringing another attraction to not just the residents of Cameron County, but obviously to the tourists and to our visitors. One of the issues or concerns that I've heard ever since I moved back, and it's just gotten louder and louder, is there aren't enough things to do, there aren't enough places to go, and why don't we have the same amenities as our friends to the west in Hidalgo County have? And I've always been a half full kind of guy, and a lot of people, I've seen a lot of the comments or heard from them. I understand the concerns and the questions. Many of them are valid, but what I have a harder time accepting, I guess, is a belief that because some either things haven't worked in the past or we've had our problems, that we shouldn't try to keep moving forward and bringing these types of projects, these types of amenities, quality of life attractions to our constituents. This particular project is part of the Madeira development has already broken ground. It's a master planned community, I think over 1,400 acres, basically from South Texas Med High across from Rancho Viejo all the way to Highway 100, and then I think a mile or two down Highway 100. It's a huge area, and it's really going to reprogram the way we look at developments here in Brownsville and throughout and in Cameron County. So this master plan community is going to be residential homes, be multifamily, there'll be apartments, cottage houses, and it'll also have retail in a style of an open air style, kind of like La Cantera or the outlet malls in Mercedes. And we'll obviously also have a commercial and restaurants, hotels, and bars, nightclubs. It'll probably be the neatest, nicest place to live at in the entire valley. So we had discussions on this even when I was mayor. Unfortunately, the city commission decided to move forward with regards to the sports park. At that point, I had worked with the county and San Benito, the island, and Harlingen, trying to get buy-in from everybody, and we were ready to move forward. But unfortunately, the city commission decided to do the sports park instead. So that to me was a missed opportunity, because at that point, the Hidalgo Arena was just a few years old, and I think it cost about 23 or 25 million back then. We anticipated the potential arena, the possible arena, costing about 30 or 35 back at that point. So here we are 15 years later, and now the estimated, and it's just estimate, right? We have a lot of work to do, is that about a 10,000 seat arena would run approximately 100 million. The Bert Ogden in Edinburgh, which opened I think 3 or 4 years ago, cost 83 or 84 million. So that's why we're kind of guesstimating what we anticipate this new arena to cost. We've seen a skyrocket in the cost of materials, in particular construction, and so it's not going to get any less expensive for us to build this arena down, if we continue to delay it. We fell a little short back in November, about 66 votes. And so one of the complaints or comments that I received was, hey, I didn't know this was on the ballot. If I would have known, I would have definitely gone out to vote. This past November was what we call a constitutional election, and that's probably the least attractive or participatory from our voters, right? Yeah. There weren't any contested elections for the most part. There may have been a few city elections. I think Los Fresnos had a city commission race, and there were a couple of bond elections. But for the most part, it was basically just the state constitution, and in particular our proposition. The other issue is when you read Proposition A, you really got to have a good strong cup of coffee to keep you awake through it, because it's very long, it's very verbose, and there's a lot of legalese. We haggled with the state, the Attorney General's office and Secretary of State, saying, is there any way we can, make it a little bit shorter or make it a little bit more clear? But they said, no, this is the law, and this is the required language. It's got to be in the proposition. So it is what it is. So anyway, when we fell a little short in the fall, a lot of the business community and the developers themselves realized that with a little bit of information, perhaps we would have been able to get it passed in November. So the Commissioner's Court, after some discussion, thought that while it was still fresh in some people's mind, and obviously the fresh that some people hadn't gone out to support it, we thought we'd give it back and give it another chance. I know a lot of the questions have been, hey, we already voted on this and it didn't pass. Well, like I said, it barely didn't pass, and the county cannot advocate or spend any public money to advocate or promote some proposition like the one that we're talking about today. So, even though I serve as county judge, I still have my right as an individual to promote or support something, and that's what we're doing here tonight. And so we went and spoke to a lot of the civic groups in the fall, and we've spoken to a few here in the spring, and we've done a few more podcasts. You approached me probably a month or two ago, and we weren't able to coordinate, and you were persistent, and I appreciate that.
I apologize if I was persistent.
No apology needed. No apology needed whatsoever. And I think it worked out well so that we could have this podcast, and again give your viewers and the citizens of Cameron County another opportunity to either hear some information that maybe they weren't aware of, or try to answer some of the questions and concerns. But I'm a firm believer in our community. That's why I got involved in public service and public office, and I don't believe we should settle.
Yeah.
I think this community is capable of so much more. I remember when I was mayor, and the school chess teams started making a lot of getting a lot of notoriety, both around the state and even nationally, because they were competing with kids from throughout the entire country, and some of these were schools from some of our poor areas in the city. Yeah. And what it told me was that if we give our kids the same resources or support, at least, and encouragement that other communities give to their youth or to their populace, that anything is possible. Who would have ever thought that a few years ago we'd be building rockets in our backyard and building it with local labor, local skilled individuals that were born and raised here, that perhaps got their training elsewhere, but now they're able to come back home and support their families. So these good, high-paying, quality jobs are part and parcel of why I don't want to give up, and I won't give up on Cameron County as a whole, and Brownsville, my hometown, because I know that if we put our minds to it, if we work together and we're positive, and if this pandemic showed us anything, is that we need to be grateful for the many blessings that we have in our lives, and not take for granted the small things, the little things. And I don't believe that, even though we've been known as one of the poorest regions in the entire country, and we have our problems, that those narratives that other individuals, especially people from out of the area, are going to define us. I'm a believer, and I want to remain positive, and that's why I think I've got the opportunity to serve and bring ideas like this, which we think are going to be huge economic drivers. This arena obviously would spur a lot of construction jobs. It would, once completed, it would spur obviously events, concerts, family events, sporting events, community events. Having our kids having to graduate out in the sun or at a football stadium because there's no other venue for them to have. And if there's bad weather, well then, hey, they get 2 tickets to their gym, and family members can't see their loved one graduate. So this is another example of where this arena would benefit the community. Let me I'll try to address some of the concerns that I've heard in other presentations, and also through social media. Number one, the hotel motel tax is our part in helping to develop this, okay? Some of the criticism that said that the numbers don't add up, and that the hotel venue tax cannot pay and won't be able to pay for the venue, for the arena. And it's true. We've never said that the venue tax would pay 100% for the arena. So our goal was to, whatever we would be able to sustain through revenue bonds, that'd be 15, 20, 25, or 30 million, then that would be the county's portion to help with the construction of the arena. Then the developer who's donating the land, okay, 20, 25 acres, would also donate or advance, I shouldn't say donate, would advance the costs associated with the infrastructure for the arena. And again, we put that price tag in 30 to 35 million. So if our portion is 10, 15, 20, and you add the 30 or 35 from the developer for the infrastructure, then if our price tag ends up being 100 million, then we're approximately halfway there. There's still a lot of other sources that we need to look into in order to make up that difference. Mm-hmm. And that being a public-private partnership, and also applying for state and federal monies and or hot taxes, for example, from the state. So this is literally the first step in a long process to get us to that promised land of building an arena that we think is long overdue. Making it part and parcel of that master plan development, the streets that they're talking about developing and having for that entire project are 6-lane with center lane turn lanes. So imagine having an 802 or Boca Chica all throughout this master plan development. Also getting involved at right now at the beginning stage while they're just starting their development, we want to make sure that the traffic study is part and parcel of the development. We want people to be able to get in, park, go to the event, and get out. Now, we also want it to be part of the development of the hotels that are going to be developed there, and the restaurants and the nightlife, the bars and nightclubs that are going to be nearby. So that's what's going to, I think, really make us differentiate us from the arenas that we have here in the Valley and many of the arenas that you have elsewhere. I'm a huge San Antonio Spur fan, and I love going to see the Spurs. But, you know, when they built the AT&T Center over, I guess, 20, 25 years ago, they built it over in East San Antonio, and the expectation and hope was we'll build the stadium, you know, and then all this will develop around it. Well, here you are 20 plus years later, and it's still literally the only thing out there. And getting in and out is, you know, it takes you a while. We want to avoid that. And then our last kind of most striking point is that we're going to be 20, 25 minutes from South Padre Island, which is our largest and best tourist attraction here in Cameron County and in the Valley. So now, instead of you and I going to San Antonio or Houston or Dallas to go see a concert and spend the night or spend the weekend, now we're going to have the attraction to have other people outside of our area come in and stay at the hotel, either at the master plan development next to the arena, or they stay at the island. Either way, it's a win-win. So, you know, I think I've tried to cover kind of it in general. Hopefully, if you have some questions, I'll try to answer that.
Well, definitely, I know what you're talking about. I mean, as a parent, I can tell you many times that, you know, especially if you have young children, you know, they want to go see Disney on Ice. You want to go see the Monster Truck Jam. And, you know, if you're a parent with a graduating senior, let me tell you, that problem about holding graduations in the middle of June in the heat is a problem. It's really shameful that UTRGV and TSC have to hold their graduations at the Harlingen Convention Center. It mind boggles me, you know. And there's always been that need for some kind of facility where you know, parents and siblings and relatives can go out, you know, to enjoy graduation. Nobody knows that problem until you actually have to attend one of those graduations, you know? So I definitely agree with you. I mean, there's no need for us to travel 100 miles out or even 300 miles out when we can have our own facility, you know? One of the things that I was telling somebody the other day is, you know, we're at a crossroads now. You know, we've got an economic growth. SpaceX is leading the way through this economic engine. There is an increase in property values because of that. But there's also, you know, taxes that are being raised. If the economic engine is happening, if not now, when? When? I tell those individuals, when is it or will it be okay to do something like this? If not now, I don't think we'll ever do it, you know?
You know, we've been waiting here in the Valley, and in particular, you know, Brownsville and Cameron County, for that employer, for that industry to come in and give us that spark that we needed, right? A huge employer to give us a boost in wages that would allow people to come back. Well, I don't think anybody in any of their brightest of dreams or expectations could have ever expected us to become part of the space and technology industry. But lo and behold, we are. And we're just getting started. The original idea, obviously, was to basically build a launch pad and launch the Falcon 9 launch satellites once a month.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, Elon Musk decided to say, you know what? I want to move the entire Starship R&D, development, operation, test, construction, and testing to Boca Chica. And with that decision, literally the match was struck and lit, and we've been blowing and going since then. SpaceX now has over 1,600 employees, plus all the independent contractors and companies and vendors that are out there working. It's you have and it has come with a price, right?
Right.
Environmental concerns obviously are a top priority, and then the gentrification is a concern. But we can't keep sitting in the same hole and hoping that some things are going to change, but yet don't the NIMBY, right?
Yeah.
I want everything. I want everything to happen, but not in my backyard.
Yeah.
And that's kind of we've kind of been sometimes our own worst enemy in that process. That doesn't mean, hey, voice your concern, voice your issues, and raise your questions so that we keep it as part of our oversight. But the real estate boom, which has occurred because of during the pandemic, it's kind of crazy. A pandemic spurs a real estate boom throughout the state, throughout the entire country. And now, property taxes throughout the entire state, property values throughout the entire state have gone up, and they're going up. Normally, that's not a big problem, but it's going so quickly, and in some cases, to such extent that it is creating concern on the part of property owners. Yeah. Let me clarify a couple of things, because people receive their notification from the Cameron County Appraisal District. The Cameron County Appraisal District is its own separate entity. Right. The Cameron County Commissioners Court has absolutely nothing to do with what they do, other than having a member on their board of directors. But what the appraisal district does is they go to people's homes, they go to the businesses, they go to the community, and they say, and they evaluate, where are we? Is this property properly evaluated? Is the price correct? Is the appraisal correct? And honestly, they got a mandate from the state several years ago saying, hey, you need to review stuff. And a lot of people that own property for the longest time that had never ever had that issue have now had to deal with it. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't contest it and value it, right? Right. But I understand. But the hope is, as these values increase, as the appraisals increase, obviously that generates more in tax, but more importantly, it'll generate more development.
Right. And
that's what we need to do. So that way, these new subdivisions, these new master plan developments, these new stores, all of this investment will spur development and generate more tax revenue, whether it's property taxes, sales tax, and we'll be able to use those revenues in order to, God willing, at the end of the day, hopefully sooner rather than later, lower our tax rates, so that way people won't feel that pinch. But having growth, that's something that we've been waiting on for a long time, and we need to take advantage. The rest of the country and the rest of the world has found out about Brownsville and Cameron County. And I think it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we don't squander this opportunity in our history. It's transformational, it's generational, and we need to do everything we can to make it the best opportunity for all of us. I love hearing about the kids now saying, I'm going to grow up to become an astronaut or an engineer, and I'm going to work at SpaceX down the road.
Yeah.
That's those dreams as adults, we should be applauding and encouraging our local kids here in the Valley to dream like that, because if you can dream it, you can achieve it. And just because we get older and maybe a little more cynical and not so optimistic, that doesn't mean that we ourselves shouldn't be advocating and helping project and plan for the future. Because Absolutely. This arena, this master plan development, is going to benefit our kids, our grandkids, and our great-grandkids. But we now need to plan and do what we can to help them going for the future. And if we keep kicking the can down and say, you know what, let's not develop today. Let's not grow today. We'll do it later. It won't. I don't want it to be my problem. That's what has hurt us for the last couple of decades. It
Right.
really has. And I think it's incumbent upon our community leaders, our elected leaders, to be aggressive, to be positive about our future, and take advantage of the opportunities that are being presented to us.
Right, right. Well, that's one of the things that, I think a lot of people need to understand that, the arena is going to bring construction jobs. And not only construction jobs to the arena itself, but as this master plan community evolves, there's going to be construction jobs there. With regards to SpaceX, I worked in the maquiladora industry for almost 30 years. And one of the things that I noticed is that when a manufacturer relocates to this area, there is a trickle down of suppliers that actually supply that industry, which creates more jobs. So with regards to SpaceX, hypothetically that research and development, if it remains just R&D, will still require suppliers that supply the raw materials to build those things. And by the way, kudos to our local welders. Who would have thought that besides Amphels, our local welders would be building and putting together rockets? That is something that no one ever
Yep.
saw.
Yep.
So there's a I hate to use the word trickle down because it has such a negative connotation to it, but that's the reality. An industry brings its supply base with them, and along with that are jobs. And we're not talking jobs paying $7 an hour. We're
No, no
talking
more.
jobs paying 15 or more. There's a movement out there, on the left, especially in the left, about everybody earning 15. Nothing wrong with that. But we have an opportunity here locally to have jobs that pay 15 or greater. And if we don't take the bull by the horns, it'll just slip right by. And that's something I think people need to understand, you know.
I guarantee you that numerous communities throughout this country would love to be in our position right now, and with SpaceX having committed and doing what they're doing here. You know, the LNG industry. Okay,
Absolutely.
some people are against it from an environmental standpoint. I understand, but the next decade project is hoping to break ground in the next 6 to 9 months. Things have changed for them over the last several months and year, and unfortunately, I will take this moment to make sure that I remind everybody to pray for the people of Ukraine who are fighting for their lives with the onslaught of a dictator trying to overtake their country and their democracy, as things that we take for granted, and I mentioned that earlier. But as a result of that, it's made Europe realize that they were too dependent on Russian oil. And
Absolutely.
so now they're looking for alternative sources. So the LNG industry is going to potentially, I don't want to use the word explode, but certainly expand. And hopefully this will be an additional new high-paying industry that we can bring to our area because of the fact that LNG will be looked at as a good alternative to coal. So that's a 12 to $15 billion project. That's almost over half of what our current property tax base for the entire county currently stands at. Mm-hmm. So imagine that.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the other things, it's a good thing you touched on Ukraine for a little bit, because I've also argued with many people about, that Ukraine actually has changed the dynamics with regards to space. A few weeks ago, the head of the Russian space agency threatened to deorbit the International Space Station. And if there is any reason to support SpaceX, it is because we have a national security issue now. They could literally deorbit the space station and put us out of business. So we have an opportunity right here in Brownsville, in Texas, to manufacture the rocket engines in McGregor and to build the components so that we ensure that this country maintains its leadership in space and that we're not facing threats from other nations with regards to their space programs. So, people here locally need to go beyond, what they see here. There's a bigger thing going on, and we have to do what we have to do to ensure that we provide the support necessary. There's an argument, well, we're just going to be an R&D facility, but that apparently the launches will be in Cape Canaveral. Okay.
We're not there yet, but even if that is, what's wrong with that?
Yeah,
exactly. Even if it was to get to that point, which obviously we don't want,
right.
But even if it is, that's still good for us.
Exactly. Because all the raw materials, all the suppliers, the warehouses to store that stuff. I mean, we're not talking about storing, automotive parts here. We're talking about components that are going to have to be climate controlled. They're going to have to be dust free. It's going to take logistics to a whole new level that this area hasn't been in. If we become a launch facility, or even if we don't become a launch facility, those raw materials have to be climate controlled to avoid the elements and the rust. That means jobs. It means jobs. Warehouse workers, forklift workers, shipping, transportation. I mean, the possibilities are endless. And, that's one of the things that I think, really doesn't come out a whole lot or people think about, besides access to the beach, a few alligators and ocelots. There's real jobs tied to this,
And then the one final point before I forget, as new industries have looked, for the last 20, 30 years to relocate, and we've been on short lists of a lot of them. Oftentimes, one of the drawbacks was that we didn't have the amenities that other communities, either same size or larger, had. And that's why this arena is also so critical, because if you're bringing people or you're bringing a company from somewhere else, they want to make sure that their employees are going to be able to have a good quality of life.
Right.
And having an arena, a multi-use arena that has all of these multiple events, music, concerts, family sporting events, all of that, community events, all of that is part and parcel of the sales pitch to say you want to come down here. And now being able to say, hey, look, SpaceX is here. And now we've got an arena as part of a master plan development. I really, really am very bullish. I'm very, very optimistic about what we can do for the future, both short and long term.
Right. And, I haven't heard much about, the potential for, getting tourists even from Mexico. We get a lot of them during Semana Santa. And
they own, Mexican nationals. I haven't checked lately what the percentage was, but at one point they owned over 60% of the property at South Padre.
Right.
Okay. And unfortunately, during the pandemic, they weren't able to cross at our ports of entry, so they had to fly in. So many of them haven't been to their properties in the last 2 years or, year and a half. Right. So, but again, that's a other avenue of investment that we maybe as Cameron County hasn't taken full advantage of the way Hidalgo has. You mentioned the maquiladora industry. Brownsville and Matamoros were among the leaders, but then all of a sudden there was a union issue in Matamoros, and boom, Reynosa and McAllen took advantage, as did El Paso and Laredo. So
right.
So these are some of the missteps that we've had over the years that have cost us. So these are opportunities that we had. We were leaders. Brownsville was a leading city south of San Antonio by far into the 70s, but we started sitting on our laurels, on our hands, saying we're good. We don't need to keep pushing. Any community that becomes stagnant suffers, and that's
right.
exactly what's happened here. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to get into public office, because I did not want us to stay stagnant any longer. That mindset leads to that can't attitude. Right. And I've told kids, I enjoy, obviously I haven't had a chance to during the pandemic as much as before, but when I would go speak to kids, I would tell them, hey, kids, I want you to stop using this dirty word. And the teachers and parents would all get kind of concerned, like, oh, gosh, what is he going to say? And I said, I want you to eliminate the word can't from your vocabulary, because there's absolutely nothing good that comes from it. You know, it gives a negative connotation in mindset and belief, and we can is positive, can't is negative. And I think, unfortunately, that negativity has been prevalent for an extended period of time. And I think it's up to us that have a positive outlook and future for our community to be in the lead and be moving us forward, as opposed to saying, no, we can't do that, or it'll never happen.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with, being good stewards of public finances, and there's nothing wrong with questioning, the numbers. But, at the end of the day, I guarantee you that any city in Hidalgo County would love to have the resources that Cameron County has. I mean, we've got 2 major airports, we've got a big port, we've got a beach nearby. I guarantee you that McAllen would love to relocate into Cameron County if they could.
They've always said that if we had the resources that Brownsville and Cameron County had, man, what we would have done over the last 30 years. Otho Brand, who was a very, very tough but aggressive and mayor for his community, he would tell people, you guys don't realize what you have. The Resacas, the history, the activities, the island, and then up until recently, being able to enjoy our border community as a sister relation with our sister city in Matamoros. But we can get that. We can get that back. And now having space travel, rail, I mean, I think we're the only community in the entire country can boast of all modes of travel.
Yeah.
All 5, right?
Yeah.
And nobody else can say that. And by the 5th one, I'm talking, or 5th or 6th one, I'm talking about space.
Right. Absolutely. Well, I want to flip over to this screen just to show the viewing audience what we're talking about with regards to the arena and the development nearby. So let me transition real quick. And you may be able to speak to some of this, but I know that Dennis is the developer and he probably could explain a little bit more. But whatever you can do, that's great. So here we go. Alrighty, so we've got the first set of pictures. Give me a second while I flip to the screen where I can move them around. Alright, so let me go back here. So the first picture that we've seen out in the public is this one. Can you give us a little bit of an explanation of what we're seeing here?
Yeah, the one we're looking at right there. To the left of the screen, and again, these are just renderings, right? This is not a final decision by any stretch of the imagination. And you mentioned something a little while ago. As good stewards for public money, even if hopefully this passes, right? But at the end of the day, we're not able to generate and raise the funds needed, whether through our public-private partnership, in order to build the arena, then it's not going to happen. We're not going to do something that at the end of the day, we can't get done. Now, the operation and maintenance, our game plan is to hire and contract with the professionals in that industry. We do not plan on operating it because we're not in that business.
So we're not going to go and pay $20 million to bring Enrique Iglesias in.
We're not going to do that. Absolutely not. But so anyway, so that particular project, I mean, that particular photo that you've got up on the screen is a rendering of what the developers want to have for that particular area. So that basically, and some of the comments I've heard, well, there's not enough parking. Well, again, this is not a final rendering. This is just a what if, but they want to have all the amenities, the water look. You want to be able to walk to the hotels and a lot of the retail areas. And they also want to have a kind of an open courtyard. If you've been to the Pearl in San Antonio, that middle section that basically people, sit on the grass. You can have events outside, You can just have a normal, picnics and things of that nature. But it's all part and parcel of enjoying the recreation. So that is just a good rendering of what this development is going to look like. Now, even if the arena, God forbid, but even if it doesn't pass, you're still going to have an unbelievable planned development out there.
Right.
But being able to have the arena to host the events that right now we can't bring locally,
Right.
is something that we really, really need to be futuristic thinking. We need to be progressive, not progressive on the left side, but progressive looking forward. Okay, not that there's anything wrong with the left side, right?
Right.
But now that's become a political word. This is not a political. This is a community.
Right.
This is a community issue that we all should be on the same page. Raise the questions, ask for the information, but listen also to the answers that we're providing, the information that we're providing, and hopefully look at this in a positive way.
All right, let me flip to the next slide here. And this is a different angle. And what I noticed over here is these high rises. Do you know anything of what that is, or what good convention?
So to the right, so basically to the right of the arena, that is basically a proposed hotel development. And the major chains, they call them the majors. They're already in discussions with a developer about setting up shop there. Okay. There's a lot of interest, just like from the owners and operators of arenas throughout the country that are interested in operating the arena. There's a lot of interest in the hotels because they see what they've heard about what's going on, and now they want to get in on the ground floor. And I think for some people, oh my God, traffic's already getting bad and it's going to get worse. There's a lot more people moving in. But that's what brings the quality of life and that economic development that hopefully at the end of the day is going to make it Brownsville and Cameron County as a whole an even nicer and more beautiful place to live and work and raise your kids and your family. So yeah. So that's the beginning of the hotel. And then again, these are just initial renderings. But that's where you'll also see the development of the retail, restaurants, bars, nightclubs, things of then, and then stores. Like I said, the open air development.
Okay, here's another section. I'm not sure what this is.
That one right there is that Pearl Courtyard area that I was talking about.
Okay. All right. And how deep is that water feature going to be?
Oh, I couldn't answer that one, Daniel.
So I couldn't jet ski.
I don't know.
There.
I think it'll be designed more so for recreational activities, probably kayaking and things of that nature. Okay. I don't know about swimming per se, but and hike and bike trails. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, but they're going to be throughout the entire development and the entire project, and obviously that'll be part and parcel for recreational users that want to run and jog and do the recreational activities, kayaking, canoeing in those bodies of water. There's a lot of resaca already out there, and they're going to be continuing to add to that also.
So is that going to be an artificial water feature, or is it going to be a resaca?
I don't know if that one is part of the resaca or not, but either way, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. All right. Let me see. I think I've got one last picture here. And yeah, it's just another end to it. But it looks pretty neat. I mean, something that you don't see anywhere in the valley or anywhere within 300 miles.
Yeah. I think it'll be the nicest, most advanced master plan community south of San Antonio. If you've ever been to the Woodlands outside of Houston, it'll be on par with that, Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I wanted to kind of touch briefly is on the seat capacity. I've been a proponent of saying, look, go big or go home. And in my opinion, and I'm not the expert here, I believe that we shouldn't settle for 10,000 or less. It should be at minimum 10,000. But that's my opinion. I don't know what decides the capacity. I mean, I know that Hidalgo The Hidalgo Arena was like 7. I think the Burt Odkins around 9-ish.
Yeah.
But I
When you
think if we're
include
gonna do that,
when
yeah,
you include the floor seating for the concerts and things of that nature, I agree with you. I hope we obviously we want to distinguish this arena from the other two in the neighborhood, so to speak. So that's why we're hoping that we can do a 10,000. But the first step is going to be, getting with the experts and developing a feasibility study to see what will work and what it'll cost and what we think the area may sustain and withstand. Some people are concerned, well, you've already got 2 up there. Why are the people going to come here? That's why getting with the experts, the operators of other arenas, is critical, because they're basically the ones that push the artists to go where they're going to go.
yeah,
One. Two, the larger the venue, the larger the acts potentially that you can have. That doesn't mean that you can't have small acts, right?
right,
But if you have a larger venue, you're more likely to get larger acts.
right.
And also, hopefully, that'll have an impact with more seats on the ticket prices. If you have fewer seats, that potentially has an impact on ticket prices. But hopefully the feasibility study will be able to show that as part of this master plan development, that a 10,000 seat arena will work. And what we're hearing is that approximately right now, each seat will cost approximately $10,000. So that's why we've got that $100 million estimate.
Oh wow. Alrighty. Just one last thing, Mr. Trevino. I just wanted to kind of flip a little bit and just give you an opportunity. By the way, it looks like I've been texted. I've got a family emergency here. But I wanted
Okay.
to give you an opportunity to talk about, what you want to leave to the voters as a final, closing statement. We're almost at the hour here.
Okay. Hopefully, in our conversation, I've tried to address some of the questions and concerns that we've seen or that have been presented to us. Um, you know, the the people that I've heard from have been a lot more positive than some of the people that I've heard or seen on social media. I understand their concerns, and we've tried to address it. The venue tax is how is going to be our part of the arena. We are not going to rely and use any general fund or property tax revenue to either build and certainly not to operate the arena. Number one. So if you're concerned that at the end of the day the county is going to be left holding the bag, no, because if at the end of the day we can't do this in a public-private partnership that's beneficial to our community and to the money that we're going to be putting in through the venue and visitor tax, then unfortunately it won't happen. But I think the other major concern is that the arena will be a drag on our property, on our operational issues, and that we're going to be the ones left holding it. Again, we're going to make sure that we contract with the professional who operates arenas throughout the entire state and country. Excuse me, and work with them to do the operation. We've got 2 projects that the voters have approved, and we've already got them up and running. I think we've got a good track record, and I know that there's sometimes a lack of trust or belief in elected or political leaders. But this commissioner's court, this Cameron County Commissioner's Court, has worked very well together, and I guarantee you that we're going to do right by the citizens, especially if they give us the opportunity to develop this particular project. I hope that at the end of the day we make it a reality and it comes to fruition. But if the numbers don't work, then it's not going to happen, and it certainly won't happen until the numbers work. But I will remind everybody that the longer we wait, the longer we delay, it's only going to cost us more money and potentially missed opportunities that we've already had numerous of over the last 10, 15, and 20 years. So, but believe in our community, believe in Cameron County, we should have the nice things in life the same way every other community does. These amenities are part of raising the quality of life for our residents, and I hope that if you first of all exercise your right to vote, it's our responsibility and our obligation. I mentioned Ukraine earlier, and that democracy is under assault and under attack. So as Americans, that's our number one priority. Get out to vote because your vote is your voice. And two, hopefully we've addressed some of your questions, some of your concerns, and that you look upon this project in a favorable way for yourself, for your children, for your grandchildren, because I'm very optimistic and positive about the future in Cameron County, and this arena can help us get to that point sooner rather than later, and make us even more attractive for those wanting to move down here to Cameron County.
Alrighty. Well, everybody, this was our podcast for today. We thank Mr. Eddie Trevino, who's our Cameron County judge, for spending some time tonight going over the arena. We hope that everybody enjoyed the evening, and we look forward to the next podcast. Mr. Trevino, thank you.
Thank you for having me, Daniel, and I hope
All right.
everything's good with your family. God bless you.
Alrighty.